What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully you guys are having a good day today. In today's video, we are going to be talking all about silver. Now, this game is plagued with silver issues. Everything in this game costs silver. So in this video for 2025, I wanted to make a ultimate comprehensive guide for silver strategies, basically how to accumulate silver and how to save silver as well. There's two different things here at play. One is accumulating and one is saving. So I'm going to touch upon many points in this video just to help you guys out. And so you guys have a good reference guide whenever you guys need a little bit of a refresher. Now, if you guys enjoy this content, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you guys leave me a comment in the description below as well. It really helps me out. With that being said, let's jump into the video. All right, guys, so first things first, I wanted to preface that a lot of these tips will be based around the free-to-play mindset. So I'm a fully free-to-play player. I haven't spent a single dollar in this game. You see here, I got 2 billion silver on my account. Now, my account is pretty old. It's about 5 years old now. On my main account, which also has about 1 billion silver, on this account, it's about 4.5 years old, and we're looking at about 2 billion silver. So how did I accumulate 2 billion silver? So first things first, you go to the shop, and you go to the gem shop and you spend all your gems buying silver. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Don't ever do this. This is probably one of the biggest no-nos in the game. Basically spending gems to buy silver. I would definitely advise not doing this ever, because the thing is, you can spend your gems in any dungeon and you can accumulate probably more silver than this. So I highly would advise against spending gems there. So with that out of the way, let's jump into some things that are a little bit more common sense, a little bit easier for everybody. So the first thing I want to mention, big thing for silver, is the forge. You want to jump into the forge and you want to manage your forge resources properly. You want to make sure that you're always undercapped. These things cap out. They cap out at 10,000. You never want to be at 10,000 and then still farming these resources at the maximum. So for example, here, my perception gear, I actually didn't get a chance to run down these resources during the last CVC. So that's something else that you want to do. You want to make sure you run the forge during CVC so you get some additional points out of it. And of course, points during CVC will translate into resources. But with that being said, you want to make sure that these resources are never capped so that you're farming them and you're saving them. But in the forge, it's a massive amount of resources. So what you would do is basically you have the resources here. Let's say you craft 10. I'm just going to craft 10 here just to show you guys what we're doing here. So you can kind of see it costs us silver to create one of these pieces, but we can sell them and then we will net silver. So this is how you make silver from the forge, right? A lot of this gear is going to be irrelevant to me, but each piece of gear costs 10,000 to create, but they sell for 30, 60,000. So you're netting a good amount of silver every time you sell one of these items, right? So each one of them costs 10,000 to create, but you're netting between 20 and 50,000 per sell. So make sure you guys are on top of this. So to be on top of this, to have a forge that can actually pump out silver for you guys need to make sure you guys are farming the areas that can give you the forge materials or materials for the forge. The main part is faction wars. You guys want to make sure that you guys are doing all your faction wars keys every day, regardless of what level you guys can do. Obviously, you want to do the highest level if possible. The highest level gives you more CVC points doing level 21, the boss stage, versus level 20. You do get the 4 and 6 star glyphs as well. And I believe level 21 does give you slightly more materials as well. So doing level 21 makes the most sense. And getting those materials will translate into more silver for you guys. So after faction wars, you want to make sure that you guys are doing your Doom Tower. Make sure you guys are doing your Doom Tower silver keys. Spend them into any one of the bosses. Any boss that you can farm relatively quickly or whatever, just farm as high as you can. Even if you don't like any of these bosses, like I don't like any of these bosses, but you try to farm, make sure you spend all your free silver keys in the Doom Tower. This translates into materials, right? So you get a bunch of these extra materials here, which you can kind of sell just for silver if you need to. So that's a big thing. I know it's a bit time consuming to spend all your silver keys farming bosses in Doom Tower. Sometimes it takes you, a couple minutes to get through the boss. Just do whatever boss is most time efficient for you, even if you're doing the lowest level. Of course, you want to do the highest difficulty as possible because you get more materials that way, which translate into more silver. Lastly, you want to make sure that you spend all of your, all of your free keys progressing through Centranos. Eventually, you'll get to some of the bosses. You'll clear the bosses in normal and hard stage, and you're going to get some gear from the bosses, right? From the levels. And the gear you can actually sell. You can sell off for additional silver as well. So, just free silver there, right? And obviously, there's going to be some stages that's going to have some silver rewards. So that's going to help you out as well. So make sure you guys do your faction wars, Doom Tower, Centranos. It all equals into silver at the end at the forge. And in the case of Centranos, just extra gear. All right, moving on. So silver is a big topic here, right? I get that question a lot. How do you have 1 billion silver? How do you have 2 billion silver? How is that possible? And people find all sorts of ways and reasons of me getting this silver. But the big thing is my account is old. It's it's over 4 years old, 4.5 years old, and I've been playing with these good silver habits. So hopefully I can share with you guys some of these silver habits, and you guys can take it into your own gameplay. As you guys progress in your accounts, as you guys do it over time, it's going to add up, right? So I'm going to share with you guys some of these silver strategies or silver habits that I have. So the big thing is I'm rarely ever energy capped. So what that means is I'm never basically stop regenerating energy. You can see here you regenerate energy every 3 minutes. So that means you're going to get about 480 energy for free every day. So if you are capped out, so if you have more energy than 130, that means you're not regenerating any energy, which means you're losing 480 energy per day. 480 energy, if you spend it all on a hard 10 dungeon, for example, that's still 24 runs. 24 runs worth of silver in a day, adds up, right? So you don't want to just throw that away. So that's a big thing here, getting the energy under control so that you can regenerate energy and use that free energy to get basically free silver. So the best places for you guys to farm energy, farm silver with your energy is actually going to be, obviously farming dungeons, gear dungeons, but the best gear dungeon for silver is going to be the Spider's Den. You want to farm the highest that you can. If you can't, silver stage 20 yields pretty good rarity accessories for the level and difficulty and energy spent. So per energy, it's actually very good silver rewards. If you can't do 20, 16 works, and even 10 works. 10 drops a disproportionately high amount of 5-star gear. So stage 10 actually gives you some pretty decent silver returns as well. But if you guys didn't know, accessories are also higher in terms of silver return. So when you sell them, you get more silver back. So that's a big thing here. A lot of people view Spider for a long time as a silver farming dungeon. However, I never really exclusively spent my energy in Spider just for silver, and I was able to accumulate quite a bit of silver without doing that. Quick note here, you guys might not know, Ice Golem actually gives you the lowest silver per item. I'm not sure why they had differing silver sale costs per set, but there you go. The other thing that you guys can do is basically spend some time in campaign. So the best part in campaign is actually Brutal 12-3. So 12-3 is going to give you the best mix of XP and silver for your energy. 12-6 gives you more XP, but it's going to give you less silver. I always recommend to farm Brutal because Brutal gives you mystery shards, which is really good. Just helps you out in a lot of areas relative to Nightmare. So some people like to farm Nightmare because it's a little bit more efficient in terms of energy and XP, but Brutal gives you the mystery shards. They also give you more silver back. So that's why I would highly recommend farming 12-3. Shields give you the most silver as an item. So I would definitely recommend farming 12-3 if you are concerned about getting silver. All right, sticking with the topic of energy. So with the introduction of the Sand Devil, Necropolis, and the Phantom Shogun's dungeons, these dungeons are basically touted as end game dungeons. Basically, once you have progressed through these dungeons and gotten the gear and all that, the gear from this is not super relevant in the super end game. Whereas these dungeons, Sand Devil's Necropolis and Phantom Shogun's Grove, become more relevant as you get better gear, as you want to fine tune your builds and so forth. However, jumping into this, you don't get as much silver because you don't actually get gear pieces that you can sell. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. You guys might be feeling a little bit of a silver pinch if you guys are farming these dungeons much more than the regular dungeons, the gear dungeons, because the Sand Devil, for example, doesn't give you gear to sell, so you're not going to get any silver back that way. So keep that in mind. You guys might want to mix in, some obviously some of the regular dungeon farming as well as just this, instead of just farming these exclusively. Lastly, guys, we can't talk about energy and using it efficiently if we don't talk about the Minotaur. So the Minotaur here, I highly recommend. This is one of the biggest things that I do myself. I've never purchased 800 gems masteries except in the beginning. The first starter champion I did purchase 800 gems for, because it's an incredibly tedious, not very efficient way of getting your masteries by farming it on your first champion. So buying it for your first champion is a massive power boost, and I highly recommend doing that as the best spend for your 800 gems or your first 800 gems. But after that, as soon as you can start farming stage 14 and 15 Minotaur, I highly recommend going in here, because not only are you getting a discount farming your masteries, so your masteries cost 800 gems, usually if you want to buy them instantly. However, if you farm them at Minotaur, it's going to cost you roughly 640 or 650 gems in terms of total energy, energy potions that you're buying from gems. You're also getting experience points, so you're leveling up the champion as you go. You basically bring in the champion that you want the masteries on, and then you build them up so they get experience as you're building the Minotaur scrolls on them. And then lastly, you're actually making silver. You're making about 1.1 or 1.2 million silver for every fully mastered champion that you bring through the Minotaur. Now, this doesn't seem like a lot, but it does factor in, because you're spending energy, but you're also getting silver in return. So might as well, right? Obviously, you're going to be spending time. So that's going to be a big thing here. That's the exchange, right? You can spend the time farming the Minotaur, but you're getting a bunch of benefits in return. So that's up to you guys whether you have the time to do that. Obviously, I recommend doing it AFK. If you can do that while you're at work or while you're sleeping, that would be the best. And nothing says that you can, nothing says that you only need to bring one champion in. You can bring many champions in, have them all be farmed with masteries, and you're gonna get all the benefits there as well. All right, so I highly recommend farming Minotaur. Obviously, as a free-to-play player, you're going to be farming that as often as you can relative to spending gems, that is. Let's jump into the box. So I'll show you guys a couple tips here on how to be more efficient with your silver as opposed to making silver now. So first things first, when you guys are, let's say you have a new champion here. I'm going to let's pick Santa Claus here. So I got no gear on this guy. So the last thing you want to do is basically just go through your box and just like equip things without actually, checking out what kind of stats that you're going to be getting on your Santa Claus. So the best thing you can do is actually go into this fitting room. So you go filter, fitting room, and then you can go try on. So I'm going to move my head here, but then you can go try on, right? So once you try it on, the piece of gear is going to show up on your character, and these stats will show up here as well. So you want to go try on, and then your stats will start increasing. So you have your original stats, and then you're going to have your stats with the gear on. So make sure you guys use this fitting room before you commit putting gear on champion, because it does cost silver to remove pieces of gear from champions. So for example, the Seal of the Drakes. Let's say I wanted to re-gear her. I would go to filter, go to fitting room. Let's say I want to replace the weapon. So if I wanted to replace the weapon with this, I would go to the fitting room, and then it's going to show me a 100k equip cost. This is basically to remove the existing weapon that's on Seal of the Drakes. If Seal of the Drakes had no weapon on, you have no equip cost. But if you wanted to remove it, it's going to cost you some silver. So that's why you want to make sure you guys use the fitting room, get the appropriate stats, appropriate build on first before you start equipping things kind of, thoughtlessly on your champions, because it costs silver to take them off. This is just a good habit to have, and this is something that I kind of do, kind of overdo it in my opinion, because when I make a champion for my account, I spend quite a bit of time on it, getting the best builds on them that I can get away with, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that is, depending on what I want to use the champion for, let's say I want to use them for a dungeon or a clan boss. Let's say I want to do it for clan boss, right? And I just need a 1 key on my clan boss. I don't need any more damage. Example, I only want I don't need the best gear on that champion to make the 1 key Ultra Nightmare team, or the damage for the 1 key Ultra Nightmare team, right? So I will put basically like the minimum gear that I can on that champion, because that champion is just a clan boss champion. I don't need them to do anything else besides get me the 1 key damage for my clan boss team. Of course, that's just an example, but I'm just saying when you guys are building out your champions, be a little bit more thoughtful with what you guys want to equip on your champions. Do not just randomly put gear on champions, because removing that piece of gear later on will cost you silver, and it's just a bad habit to get into if you start doing that all the time. Now, another quick comment in the same kind of vein as this is, don't equip champions if you don't plan on using them immediately. If you just want to put gear on them, like mule gear, that makes sense. That's your reasoning for putting the gear on them. But if you're just gonna put gear on them because, oh, I'm going to, fit them out with a build that may or may not work. The problem with doing that is that by the time you find a reason to use that champion, you might have better gear, and then you might have a need for a better build, or you might need a specific build. That's why you don't gear out a champion unless you have a very specific purpose for that champion, and then you build for that purpose. So a bit of key habit building there for you guys, right, in terms of how to save and conserve your silver when equipping in this in the champions box. So the other thing is I want to talk about is, how do people can complete these gear enhancement events. So for me, here's a quick tip. Like, it's a simple tip, right? But you basically want to just do the minimum. You just want to complete this. Don't go for these extra rewards here. They get pretty expensive and they're not really super worth it. Like a 5-star resistance glyph and a 6-star epic chaos ore is probably not going to be worth the extra 10 million or so silver here, right? So just do the bare minimum, get whatever threshold reward you want, and then get out. Obviously, you want to save up all of your upgrades, and you only want to upgrade your gear during artifact enhancement events, so you can get some additional goodies along the way. Obviously, a big tip here for a lot of newer players is that you want to save a lot of your gear unrolled, especially the bad ones. So if you're farming campaign, for example, you want to make sure maybe save those shields or save those boots that you guys get from farming campaign. And then once the artifact enhancement event happens, what you're going to do is basically level them up to 4 or 8. If you have a 5 or 6-star piece of gear, maybe go to 8, because you're going to get a little bit more points, but you're going to go to at least level 4. So you want to basically upgrade at least to level 4. Get a little bit of points, you're going to spend a little bit of silver, and then after that, you're just going to sell the piece, especially if it's a bad one. So for example, this is a pretty bad weapon. I was saving it just to get some points, and then you just sell it off. So you make 100. So I sold it. I made 102,000 silver from selling it, and it cost me about 10,000 to get to level 4. So at that point, I get a little bit of points for the gear enhancement event, and I'm also making silver along the way. Now, this is a little bit tedious, of course, right? So if you have a lot of pieces of gear, you're going to get a lot of little bits of points along the way, and you'll be, silver positive as you sell off those pieces of gear. That's kind of one way you can do it. Obviously, as I mentioned, you want to make sure you save all your big upgrades, your level 12s and 16s, during the gear enhancement event as well, or CVC, so you can get some additional benefits as well. Now, if you guys are more ambitious with your need for saving silver, there is something called an airplane trick. So there's something called an airplane trick for gear rolling. It's going to save you a ton of silver. And the way it works is you want to basically get the piece of gear in a position to go up to basically level 16, right? Like, let's say you have a piece of gear that you really want to take to level 16, but you don't know how many rolls it's going to take. We've all been there where we roll something a ton of times and it's going to cost us a ton of silver to get to level 16. So the airplane trick is going to save you a ton of silver, because you're not going to suffer all those fails along the way. So what you want to do is basically get this to level 12. I would say get this to level 12, and then I would basically what you have to do is go into airplane mode. So if you're on mobile or if you're on PC, you have to make sure you're disconnected from the internet, and then you're going to click upgrade. Once you click upgrade, the game will still be kind of attempting to roll it up. with the internet disconnected, the once you hit a successful roll, the game will basically pop up a warning, and at that point you basically know that this is going to be the successful roll. So the way this trick works is you have to make sure you count how many failed attempts you get before you get the successful attempt. And then you turn your internet back on, you use those failed attempts on another piece of gear, like a very inexpensive piece of gear, and then you come back to your expensive piece of gear, and then you use your successful roll to finish it off, basically. It's super tedious, super time consuming, but I mean, if you have no silver and you need to finish this for a fusion, this is kind of the last ditch resort. It's a bit of a bug, or it's a bit of a loophole in the game, but Plarium has never done anything about it for, since the beginning of the game. So it's just some clever mechanics, using the loophole in the game to make it work. I'm going to provide a link in the description below that's going to give you guys a little bit more of a detailed breakdown on exactly what to do. But what I've said is basically the gist of what you need to do and how it works for saving silver when you're rolling up big ticket items. All right, and while we're in this inventory box here, make sure you guys are gear cleansing yourself every so often. I would recommend gear cleansing yourself before every personal CBC, so roughly once a month minimum. I would recommend. If you can do it once a week, that's even better. But basically, you want to make sure you have some space available for personal reward CBC so that you can use the forge. Because you're going to have a big influx of gear coming into your box. But also, getting rid of gear that you don't really need or on your account just gives you additional silver. Like, I'm not the best example because I hold on to tons of gear, but also I have a ton of silver, so I don't necessarily need to sell off the gear for silver, right? I need to sell the gear for other reasons because I need space, but not necessarily for silver. But for a lot of people, they hold on to far mediocre gear, and selling it, giving them back some silver, definitely is more useful than having that mediocre piece in your account. So make sure you guys are on top of your gear cleansing. Obviously, as I mentioned in this video earlier, accessories will net you a little bit more silver if you want to sell those. And you need to have a pretty good feel of your own account, right? How well your account has progressed, what kind of gear your account needs, what kind of gear it can live without, for example. My general suggestion is, if you can farm the stage and get 6-star gear, for example, if you are, if you're farming speed gear, for example, and you can do, the highest level of dragon, you don't really need 6-star, rare pieces anymore, right? For example, because you can kind of just farm it from dragon at this point. So I would highly recommend tightening your gear threshold so that they are of the highest quality. What you want to do is that every time you do a gear cleanse, your quality of gear in your box should increase ever so slightly because you're removing the worst of the worst. That's kind of how you want to think about it. So just make sure you guys are on top of that to generate some silver for you guys. All right, guys, this is going to be the miscellaneous advice that you may or may not have heard and are not really talked about, but they are ways of getting silver in the game that are not as efficient as I mentioned earlier in this video, but I'm going to cover it here as well. So first of all, you want to go into a clan that is a higher level clan. So you guys may or may not know, there is a benefit to being in a higher level clan. Once you're in a higher level clan, you actually get an additional silver boost in your campaign farming. I know it's not much, but for example, my clan's level 21, I get plus 12% silver while I'm farming campaigns. So it does help, right? So every 1 million silver you get back, you get an additional 100k or 120k in my case. So it does help out. Make sure you guys are in the appropriate clan. Obviously, being in an appropriate clan has many benefits, but silver is one of the benefits here. While we're talking about clans and stuff, make sure you guys are doing your events with clan points. Make sure you guys don't skip out on these clan coins, because you can actually buy some silver here if you really need it. You can get 5 million silver here every week if you have the coins to support it. It's not cheap. It's not cheap, and it's not a good conversion rate, to be honest, because 5 million silver for basically 2,250 of these coins is kind of expensive. You're basically using up all your week's coins for 5 million silver, but in a pinch, this is important. So make sure you guys are on top of farming your clan coins. Another shop that actually has silver that I never really use. So I never really used the clan shop for silver, and I never really used the bazaar for silver. Looking at this, even though I have tons and tons of resources to buy whatever in this shop, I never buy the silver. The conversion rate is really, really bad. You don't get a lot for it, as you can clearly see here, but it's here. If you need it, it's here. Another quick and easy and kind of like infrequent way of getting silver is from promo codes. So make sure you guys are on top of your promo codes. If you guys need to check out some more of the recent promo codes, you guys can check my channel. I try to upload the promo codes right away within the first hour or so, as soon as possible, basically. But promo codes give you a little bit of influx of silver as well, so make sure you guys stay on top of those. Freebies are freebies, right? Another thing I wanted to quickly mention is actually the free gear removal pass or token here is incredibly valuable, guys. This is a massive silver saving item. So if you guys have this, you can get this from various events or stages in Centranos, but basically it gives you a set amount of time that you can have unlimited gear removal. And if you want to do this, make sure you guys are prepared. Or even if you guys use it for 1 or 2 champions, you're still going to save, a couple 100,000, maybe a million or two in terms of silver. So it's worth quite a bit, but you guys want to maximize this 1 hour that you guys have. So just prepare for it. There's also going to be mid-month events, usually 4 days, a 4-day completely free gear removal event. So Plarium has implemented this ever since they started doing this Centranos city content, because they recognize that Curse City requires a lot of gear moving around. So having a couple days every month for basically free gear removal is really, really helpful, and it should help you guys save some silver in the long run. So make sure you guys take advantage of those free gear removal events and tokens. All right, guys. And lastly, I'm going to touch upon a couple things that are more pay to win in terms of silver. So you guys can actually go into here and get this Forge Pass. So Forge Pass gives you a boost to silver and XP, but if you just care about silver, Forge Pass is pretty good because you can actually get a bunch of crafts. So the crafts will get you silver when you sell the gear, and you're going to get a silver boost from all battles. So the Forge Pass here is definitely worth looking into if you want to spend some money. The other thing here is the Raid Card Pass. So the Raid Card Pass you can purchase through the Google Play, I believe, or the Apple Play Store. So you have to do it through mobile or BlueStacks or an emulator or whatever. But basically, this is kind of like a subscription-based pass, and it gives you a boost towards silver, among other benefits as well. It's a monthly fee thing. But if you guys are interested in being as efficient with gaining silver, this is another way you guys can do it. I've never, personally gotten this myself, or I actually didn't know how to get this, but I know it's through mobile only or through an emulator. So make sure you guys check that out if you guys are interested in that as a spender. All right, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Hopefully it was informative. I covered quite a bit in this. I could easily break this up into like 4 or 5 videos, but I felt like we wanted to put everything into one comprehensive video. I want this to basically be a touch point for people that are kind of new in the game, not too sure what to do in the game. I want this to be most helpful to those guys. Obviously, maybe there are some tips in here that might help some, more experienced players. That would be great as well. Let me know in the comments below if you guys are have any additional tips on top of what I've said. I feel like I covered most, but maybe I'm missing a couple things as well. And of course, let me know if I said anything. I'll make a correction right away, of course. I don't think so. I think it's pretty rock solid advice here. And like I said, guys, I've been playing this game free to play for 4 or 5 years now. So my account is not representative of what a brand new free to play account can do in this game, but it's what you potentially could do if you play the game for many years, doing good habits in the game and so forth. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys here in this video. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. If you guys like the content, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.